Okay, so I kind of suck at the editing thing because I usually drink, shoot footage, and then I mix them up in the editing. So you might see some videos in this Homebrew Wednesday that are conflicting with other videos, that you'll see some parts that I've already done and later parts. So cheers to all that. And I apologize, but you know, who cares, right? So hope you enjoy the video. Alright, so happy Homebrew Wednesday. This would be 17. Cheers 17. Been a lot going on here lately. Try brewing twice a week. My theory on brewing is for most people it's a hobby. For me it's a habit. And I wouldn't say it's a bad habit. I think it's a good habit. So drinking the pale ale that you're actually about to see, this is probably going to be a long video. But a lot of good stuff and a lot of informative stuff in this. But I shot some footage yesterday after work, to usually upload my Homebrew Wednesdays on Tuesday night, but running a little late, got busy drinking, so I'll actually give you a tip in 5 or less. If you ever brew a starter with one of these and the stir rod in it, actually let's get to that and I'll show you what happened. Okay, so my first tip in 5 or under would be, if you're making a yeast starter and you're drunk when you brew your beer to make that yeast starter, there's a little stir rod that's in there, and you should probably get a little magnet to hold on the bottom of that, because now I had to label my fermenter stir rod in this bucket. So cheers to that. Alright, so there that is. This is the Belgian Pale Ale. It's only been in the keg about 24 hours now. I'd say about 24 hours now. It's carbonated, but needs to go a little bit more. It is over 10%. And that is my second glass, and I can pretty much feel it now. So dry hopped the IPA with the Belgium yeast, or not the Belgium yeast, but the California 001 yeast. So dry hopped it with some Saaz. I only put about 10 pellets in there. I'll show you what that looks like real quick. Alright, so it'll sit in there, and as you can see, this is why I transfer mine after there's 1 minute or more between bubbles from the primary into the secondary, and especially if you're going to dry hop it, to finish out fermenting in there. And then I will transfer this out of here into a bucket, clean this out, and harvest the yeast off the bottom of it, and let it clear up even more before I keg it. Okay, so our Oktoberfest Lagering, took a sample of it the other day just to make sure there was no off flavors on it. It's coming out nice. It's definitely the hydrometer sample I tested in one of my other videos. Couldn't stop drinking it. It was just a hydrometer sample. It wasn't even carbonated. it's definitely holding its flavor. Definitely going to become a nice. I can't wait to actually get that in the keg and bottle some of that up to take to my homebrew club meeting, which is the first Saturday of October at the haunted house at one of the homebrew club meetings members. They run a haunted house, so that will be something that I'm pretty sure everybody will enjoy. And let's just get on to the rest of what I did last night, and then we'll just go from there. So cheers. Okay, so we're transferring our Belgian Pale Ale, which I got the hydrometer sample ready to drink. So it should come out around 10.1 to 10.2. It's pretty clear. It's a little cold on this thing, but yeah, it's really clear. It's set in the carboy for an extra week, which I was glad that I could get this in there for the Homebrew Wednesday video. So yeah, it's going to go in the keg. We'll carbonate it, and hopefully we start drinking it not tomorrow, but the next day. Probably take some samples out tomorrow, but for sure Thursday. So yeah, that's it. Okay, so what I did was lukewarm water, about a quarter of the mason jar, into my harvested yeast that we just kegged, and I stirred it around, and that is all, I would say 99% viable yeast. That is all the viable yeast. So you can make a yeast starter with dry malt extract, which is preferable. I wouldn't use corn sugar because the yeast get used to eating that high 100% sugar, and then that makes them lazy. So I do this, and then I get dry malt extract or use wort from another beer that I save. Sometimes I save a pint jar of wort, and so you get that. And I probably shouldn't be dumping this on my pool table, but I have no assistance right now, so I'm doing it by myself. I'll dump this in here, and that is all viable yeast. And then I'm going to wash this out, and then we're going to transfer one of our other beers. So that is our yeast for our next Belgian Pale Ale. Cap it, and I stick it in my kegerator. Actually, before you stick it in the kegerator, label it. Best thing to do when you harvest yeast, label it. And I'll just put BLM on this one, or BLIGAN. Belgium yeast. So then next time we brew, you'll see me use this, and you'll see it actually working when we brew. Alright, so we're transferring our IPA with the California 001 yeast. Looks good. Holy shit, I smell a lot of alcohol coming off of that. A lot of alcohol. So yeah, we'll get the transfer on that and let it get it cleared up. And got the carboy all washed out from the Belgian yeast that we just used. So some heat from it, but it's ready to go. Yeah, so after four or 5 days in the primary, this is how clear it's coming out. Pretty clear. And we'll get it transferred into that, and then we'll harvest the yeast off of that one. And that'll leave back all of this stuff, which is probably from the Irish Moss and hops. So, yeah, good. There is so much alcohol coming off the top of this. And it's, oh no, I'll have to do a gravity check. I'll do a gravity check and I'll film that. Alright, so we got a gravity sample of the IPA. And it's 1004. And this is where we're transferring. Lots of hops in there. Transfer it to the carboy to help clear up and harvest the yeast. Now I will attempt to harvest yeast off of that and wash it a couple times, and then harvest the rest of the yeast off of this. But my best guess is there's going to be a lot of trub in the bottom of this, and I'll get my most viable yeast off the bottom of this when it starts clearing up. And I did throw some Saaz hops in there. Since it's an IPA, I wanted to dry hop it. So I threw some Saaz in there, hop pellets, and we'll let that clear up, and that'll be next week probably before it gets clear enough to actually keg. Okay, so just saying, transferring this clear, normally I would go ahead and keg it, but since I got that and the Oktoberfest about to be kegged, and the Belgium, the Pale Ale we just kegged, I'm going to let it clear up for another week. But normally I would just go ahead and keg it, just because I like to drink. Okay, so we brewed this on Sunday, and we harvested the yeast off of our Belgium Golden Strong Ale, our Duval clone, and this is Tuesday. So that's how good it's going after a little over 2 days. About 2 days. A little over 2 days, because it was Sunday afternoon, so, and it's Tuesday night. So if any questions are about harvesting yeast straight off the secondary, well, there you go. That's it bubbling. So I'm sure I'm going to let it go for another 3 or 4 days, and then I'll transfer it and harvest that yeast back off of this and use it in my next brew.